so I began working from the MLS. So I set up the keyword search, and then my plan each day was to look at, what has come up in my email, find five, because I don't have a whole lot of time, find five, um, comp each one of them, and then contact the agents and make offers. So what I'm finding is a lot of the time, the agents, when I say, oh, what do you think they would accept? What kind of offer are you looking for? The number they give me is higher than what I'm offering, but they're saying, well, if it's in the fives, I wouldn't do it. And I'm like, mine's in the fours. Mine's even lower.
You're like, oh great, I'm in the fours actually, even better.
And that happens all the time. Every single time I ask them, what would you accept? They're like, don't even bring it if it's this. And I'm like, mine's way lower than that. And I
Yeah.
still tell them that, and I give them my reasoning, and I'm checking back. But I'm finding just that process of doing those five takes me like 2 hours. And maybe I'm just super slow at comping, and I'm really careful, and I'm running the numbers. I'm trying to get it as high for them because I want it accepted.
Yeah.
But it's taking about 2 hours. And what I'm finding is I'm not being consistent each day, because if I don't have 2 hours, I'm like,
Yeah.
ways. Because some of
Okay.
the times I've done those 2 hours, and then I call and they're like, oh, I just got one accepted. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
just spent how much time on this?
Well, here, this will save you a lot, I promise.
Okay.
So instead of comping first, you just
Okay.
call the agent first.
Okay.
You just straight up call the agent first. Or if like you're super crunch on time, if you have one of those days you're like, I only got an hour for this, you can even text the agents. You're like,
Okay.
hey, like, it's not the best way, but I've definitely got deals doing this because of the follow-up. So this is not like what I teach, but it is normally like when I got started, I would just text agents, hey, would your seller entertain an offer of 100K or like this range? Would they even entertain it? That's just a text. Usually it's like, nah, probably not worth your time at all. Like, we wouldn't write that up. I'm like, cool. On to the next. Or like, if it's like, hey, like maybe, but not right now, we have some other buyers. That's when I would probably keep in my podio now and say, let's keep following up with this one. So that
Okay.
you're not having to comp every single one. Like, you really just want to comp because you know it's going to be low. Like, you know it's going to be like 60% of what they're asking or
Right. Right.
whatever it is. So then it's just reaching out to a lot, and that'll like, you'll be able to make so many more verbal touches, like offers like that, instead of because I know the process. That's the same issue that everyone has when they're off market too. It's like they crunch the numbers. I'm like, no, just reach out first, see if they even want to sell.
Okay.
So that'll help.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, is it? Yeah. And I was getting shot down after
Mm-hmm.
all the hard work. I'm like, this is really. I know they say that it's tough, but this is really like. This doesn't feel like an efficient use of my time.
Yeah, well, that's what all of it feels like because it's marketing. So if
Right.
that doesn't feel like an efficient use of your time, I'm even cold calling right now myself because I'm bringing back my cold call marketing. I used to have a team of callers, but
Yeah.
now I'm like, let's bring it back because I used to attack MLS hard. And then it stopped. It wasn't as efficient for me, MLS and from realtors and wholesalers. And I want to wholesale now. So I prefer to wholesale off market.
Okay.
I feel it's not as comfortable for me to wholesale on market, although I've done it.
Uh-huh.
Um, so when I'm like, you think that's inefficient? Like, I think I called already. I don't know how many people I called. It's definitely like 500 plus, or maybe 1,000 people in like, an hour or so. So it's like, and then only 20 pick up the phone. Like
Okay.
that's the kind of that's what it's off market. Off market, the volume's even worse. So that's why it's like you just have to do enough to where you realize, okay, I think I get what it takes, and you don't know it until you get the first one. And you're like, that was a lot. that's
Right.
that's when.
Because I even started entertaining. I was going to ask you yesterday or the
Hmm.
day before I went on. What is it? I think it's Prop Wire. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ray suggested that one. So went on there, and I'm like, at least if I'm calling if I only have 1 hour, because I was finding if I had 2 hours or less than 2 hours, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna listen to an old like a call, just so that I'm at least still learning. I won't have the time to reach out today, but that's not gonna make me money. I'll learn more, but I'm not making money doing that.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about switching to off market and direct to seller, because at least I'd feel productive. If I'm like, I only have an hour, I'll just call for an hour, and at
Yes.
least I know I got through this in a list, and then I've done something.
I feel like that's a good route because right now, I mean, just from everyone I talked to and me included, it's actually been a lot harder on MLS within the past year, like with the market shifting. I
Yeah,
mean, there's a reason why I shifted. The reason why a lot of other people are now off market,
yeah.
um, just because of how it is. So I think it's a great idea, and if you want to do that, like I'll guide you and walk you through like what I think will be most efficient for you in
Okay,
every single sense.
please.
So, how many hours a day do you think you can dedicate to calling?
Maximum 2 is all I
Okay,
have to.
that's perfect. That's fine. 2 hours a day. Is that like just weekdays or is that weekends
Just
too?
weekdays. On the weekend, I could do more.
Okay. How much do you think you can realistically do consistently on the
Uh,
weekends?
well, I mean, okay, let's just say 2 hours a day every day. Let's
Okay.
just
Oh yeah,
say,
just on average, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Every day of the week, so that's 14 hours a week calling. I think that's a really good start actually.
Okay,
That'll get you far if you are actually calling during those hours. What I
yeah.
mean by that is sometimes people will find even me, if you're virtual assistants that call,
Mm.
maybe we dedicate 2 hours to cold call, but only like an hour spent calling. Probably because like, oh, you take a break, you go to the bathroom. It's like, no, like 2 dedicated hours, pee after, or like
Right,
whatever.
right,
Like
right.
that's what I mean.
Gotcha.
So the things that you need first, there's three main things. There's a CRM.
Okay.
Do you have your CRM ready to go or
Yeah, is
set?
it the Podio?
Yeah,
Yeah, yep. I
perfect.
have the
So
one, that link. It's ready.
perfect. Okay, cool. So you got the CRM set.
Yeah,
Next thing is data, and you already are familiar with PropWire, you said, so you can definitely pull data from there. I've
yeah.
actually never used it, but I've heard good things. I just heard it's like a free prop stream.
It's
Um,
free until you ask to skip trace, and then they say you've got this many numbers in your cart. Now pay for them. It's like 14 cents a number. But now I'm hearing
yeah,
a lot of your people don't even pick up, so I get the numbers, and then they're not going to answer.
yeah. So, okay, so PropWire is probably good data, and yeah, skip tracing anyone, it's gonna cost money unless you're using like TruePeopleSearch.com, but I wouldn't. It's just like one off. They're bad numbers, and it's just they
Okay.
give a one off thing for free.
Yeah.
To skip trace all those addresses that you pull from PropWire, now you need to skip trace it to find the phone numbers.
Right.
And the places you can skip trace, PropWire itself, you said 13, 14 cents. That's kind of expensive.
Okay.
There's also, we recommend like kind skip tracing, KIND skip
Okay.
tracing.
Okay.
That one's 3 cents a skip. So you'll
Oh.
save significant money.
Yeah.
And people always worry, like, oh, what if the numbers aren't good? It's like, they're all the same. Like, I
Okay.
promise you. There are some differences sometimes, but for the most part, everyone pulls from the same data.
Okay.
Maybe except for like the 25 cents a skip, which those
Okay.
are like luxury ones. But
Okay.
for the most part, like you'll save money using kind skip tracing.
Okay.
PropStream is like 13 or 12 cents as well,
Okay.
but they're all the same. You'll get numbers from there.
Okay.
Does that make sense so far? I don't want to go too fast.
It does. So I guess as far as so right now when I'm on PropWire, it's
Hmm.
you put it all in your cart and then it says to skip trace and that's when they want to charge you. I'm just curious if I don't know since you haven't used it if I'm able to take that list that has no phone numbers and then I would go to kind skip tracing.
Yeah, I'm hoping they have an export button. I don't
Okay.
know if they do.
Okay, I'll
They
look for
should. Like, it would be in their best interest to have it.
if they don't, then does PropStream? Should I just go through PropStream if or who
Prop.
you use for your data?
I use PropStream.
Prop
I've used it for a long time. It's always worked. Um, there's
and
other stuff too.
they have an export button on.
Yes, yeah, you
Okay,
can export to a
yeah.
CSV file.
I'm not so committed to PropWire. I haven't even.
Okay, but PropStream does cost money. It's like $97 a month for
Okay.
the basic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got that. Now you have a skip tracer.
Okay.
Perfect. Now it's the dialer. Do you have a dialer? Have you used one before?
I don't. I went back to your notes. Ready mode, batch dialer, and Mojo dialer was
Yes.
about.
Yeah. So my favorite's Ready Mode. It
Okay.
does take a little bit of time to get used to, and luckily they have a bunch of training videos, and I would watch all of them because it was confusing even for me, and I came from dialers, and I was like, where are the buttons on this?
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's my favorite one, and they all cost the same too. Ready Mode, Batch, Mojo. It's like $150 a month for a
Okay.
triple line dialer.
Okay.
I would definitely use the triple line.
Okay.
Now, Ready Mode, like I said, first you just learn how to use it first before you start dialing people, but they have ability to go up to 12 lines at once, so you can call 12 people at once. I wouldn't use that if you're a single person calling. If there's like a team, yeah. But one person typically, it's best to stick to triple line. And the reason is with a triple line dialer, you're calling 3 people at once. And if all 3 people pick up, you only answer the first one to pick up. The rest are like just goes blank on them, and it calls them another time. Those are
Okay.
called abandoned calls.
Okay.
And there's a rate that for me I'm trying to stick under. It doesn't always happen, but it's like 2.5%. I don't want 2.5% of my abandoned calls. I don't want it to be abandoned. I'd want it to keep under that rate.
Okay.
And with ready mode, there's an option to set your background dials, like the speed, triple line or whatever line it is. And then if it passes that ratio, that threshold of 2.5%, you can actually guide it and say like automatically just slow down the dialing when that happens. So I'm actually getting people on the phone.
Okay.
So, and you'll learn all that through the
The videos.
videos, and if not, tech support. Their tech support's pretty good actually. When you just call the number, just
Okay.
keep it saved in your contact tech support number.
Okay.
So once you have all these 3 things, you're ready to go, and now it's just a matter of making the calls. And let me just give you perspective on, I guess, how it all looks like, because I want to be realistic with you. Assuming you're calling 14 hours a day and it's actually on the ready mode, so
Mm-hmm.
like it's actually dialing, that's what it means.
Yeah.
Then for me, per hour. Wait, is that per hour?
For
Yeah, every. Wait, I don't want to give you the wrong information. Let me look at mine. I don't want to give you the wrong information because
okay. I appreciate it.
I'm gonna look at my data right now to see realistically. I want to give you an idea of like what to expect for maybe how many dials you can make an hour or so, how many connects you can make, stuff like that. So let's see. So looks like yesterday I only called an hour 41 minutes for the YouTube lives, and let me see, I got 62 connects in an hour 41, and the dialer report says I made 1,200 dials. So I think on average for me, I think I'm making like, actually that might be a lot more than normal than I did. Hold on, I really don't want to give you wrong
That's okay.
information.
You don't want me to have high expectations.
Yeah, I don't want to give you expectations. You're like, man, he said it was like this, but it's not. So Sunday, I made 2 hours or so calls. So how many dials did I make on Sunday? Okay, that's my expectation. So basically, for me, on average, it's about every hour, like 500 dials
Okay.
on average. Sometimes it's high. Sometimes I can make 800. Sometimes it's 400. But like on average, I'm seeing I can probably realistically dial 500 people every hour. And out of those 500 people every hour, I think it was, hold on, so for this one, so 2 hours on Tuesday, how many contacts I get? 2 hours on Tuesday. Yeah, I think I'm getting like 30 contacts out of those every single hour. And then as far as what it looks like for leads, for me, and I'm just pulling from a random high equity list. I'm not targeted at all. I'm just going big.
Okay.
Every 1,000 or so dials, I can get 1 lead.
Ah!
Like one per, yeah, yeah, I know, but
Those realtors are sounding real good again.
that that's why I want to set the expectations, because I don't want you to be like, I've been calling for a month. I'm like, how many are you calling? Like 10 a day, like I want to set it the right expectation.
Okay.
So 1,000 dials,
Okay.
and again, you might be able to do that in 2 hours, 1 lead. That's on average, and I don't want that to like trick you and say like, oh, I called 1,000, I didn't get anything.
Right.
It's
No.
like spread out. It's spread out so randomly. Like you might not get anything for hours and then get like 10 at once.
Right.
It's weird sometimes. So just like keep at it. And then it just becomes about like your closing rates. How many times you can convert a yes, like I actually do want to sell, like a true motivated lead, not just, yeah, give me a number. Because
Right.
most of the sellers you talk to, if I don't want you to be excited, because a lot of them are like, yeah, just shoot me a number. Like I want to sell, shoot me a number. And all I say to them is that, hey, like, I don't really know what I can offer. Yeah, I really just wanted to see if you're actually interested in selling. And some of them will keep pushing, like, shoot me a number. And then I'm like, hey, it sounds like you'd only sell if you got maybe retail or market value. I'll be honest, I buy properties for cash, for profit. But if you actually want to sell, I'm happy to connect you with a realtor, or maybe talk about other possible options to actually buy your property at that price. And then that's when you find out if they're BSing you or not. They're like, no, I just trying to get a number. So
Okay.
you really are trying to disqualify people as fast as you can.
Right.
And let's say you called 1,000 dials, and keep in mind that takes like 2 hours or so to get one lead. Now, it really depends on closing rate. I was talking to another rookie student, Stacy. You probably know her, but she was like, hey, if I want to get 8 deals real fast, like what volume should I realistically be calling? And I was like, all right, let's do the math. So my math was, I said, okay, if you want 8 deals, let's say your closing rate, so how many leads you can convert into actual money. I'm just going to say, let's say it's 10%. And I think that's pretty high, actually, for someone really new starting out. But let's say I'm going to divide by 0.1. That's 80 leads. So you need 80 leads. And then you can start to backtrack of like, oh, okay, so if your closing rate is you're closing 10% of your leads and actually making it into some money, and you need 80 leads, then you backtrack and you're like, oh, 80 leads
8,000 dials.
times 1,000, 80,000
Oh,
dials. So then you're like, okay, like realistically, how long would that actually take me to call? And I was like, all right, that's about I say 500 dials every hour, so divide by 500. It's like, oh, 160 hours, and 160 hours like breaks it. Now you can start to be realistic on, if I want progress faster, oh, I gotta call like
a
this
lot.
much faster.
Yeah.
So I wanted to set that expectation so you're not disappointed, because it really is like that.
Okay. Okay. No, that helps. And I am
Mm-hmm.
now thinking a lot about your text the agent. Would you take
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I'll be mulling it all over, but yeah, okay.
yeah.
um, so
Go ahead.
so let's say I do get a lead that sounds promising. What
Mhm.
is the order of things at that point? Do I go see the place before I talk
Mm,
figures?
that's a great question. Yeah, so basically the point that someone says, yeah, like, yeah, I actually am kind of interested, and they'll usually say a reason if they're actually motivated.
Okay.
Most of the time when a seller just says, throw me an offer, they're not actually, they're wasting your time for the most part. Sometimes they're not, but like rare. Usually if someone wants to sell, they'll say something like, well, yeah, actually you caught me at a pretty good time, like this is kind of going on, and they'll tell you something. And then it's just digging into, like, there's 4 main points to every lead to make sure it's a lead. One is pain/motivation. You want to see if they actually have motivation, and
Okay.
this is by far the most important one. So even if they don't tell you the price that they want, as long as you know that they're truly motivated, like they actually need to sell fast, or they for some reason like want to sell really fast, you can still work with that. But if there's no motivation, nothing else matters. Like that's something you got to figure out. So if they talk about something, you can just say, hey, can you tell me more about that? Like if they're not sharing stuff, it's like, hey, like is there any reason in particular why you might want to sell? It's really digging into that, and you try to do anything you can to pull that out of them.
Yep.
From there, it's timeline. That's the next most important thing. Is, well, when are you actually looking to sell? I know we got your price or idea of what you want, or pain. I know why, but when do you want it sold? Do you want it sold like a month or like 10 months from now? So
Mhm.
that's the next thing. Then, so the other thing you can ask is condition, and believe it or not, that's actually the least important. But we still ask it just to build rapport with the seller, and it's for them, but also kind of for us to get a gauge on the condition. But it's really for the time for you to collect your thoughts on, like, what can I ask next?
Okay.
Because the condition doesn't matter too much unless it's like burnt, like
Yeah. Right, right.
Um, so condition, and then you could discuss price, but usually at the end of the cold call, I won't give my price until I'll never give my price until I know they're actually ready to sell. Because
Okay.
the goal for me is really build the rapport over time. If they say they want to sell 6 months from now, I'm not giving an offer right now, but I'll say, hey, look, I'll continue to check up if I went through all their points and what they want. So I'll
Okay.
usually say, well, what were you hoping for? And sometimes they'll give it, sometimes they won't, and you might not know at the time because they're going to be cold calling, so you're not analyzing every single time you call. But it would help, especially Ready Mode has this. Like when if they do say a number, you can easily click the Zillow link that's on Ready Mode in your notes, so we
Okay.
can pull up like Zestimate, so you see if they're like BSing you or not. Like if the house is worth 200 on Zestimate and they're like, yeah, give me 400. You're like, oh, okay, I don't know if this one will actually work. So you
Yeah.
don't want to waste your time with follow up. But
Okay.
if the value is 200, and even if they said 150, 170, you might say, okay, I don't know what I can offer you yet, but I'd like to get back to you. Once you collect all this information from them, and that's
Yeah.
when you do your analysis. So you don't have to analyze every single deal.
Okay.
And after that, for the most part, it's just continuing to follow up with them until the timeline is now like soon. Like maybe someone told me, yeah, probably sell, but like it's 6 months out. Like I don't need to sell until 6 months. And then you just try to get into the why, like what are you waiting for, that kind of thing. And then
Yeah.
if they really is like a 6 month wait, you're like, okay, cool. Like let me just check in with you, and you can check in with them bi-weekly, weekly, monthly, whatever you're comfortable with. Just stay on top of them and make sure that you're touching them. Um, and then once that 6 month mark approaches, then it's like, hey, let's set an appointment now, whether it's in person, whether it's on the phone, so we can actually talk everything about how I can help you, because I really want to make sure that you get this sold and you get what you want.
Okay.
And then it's just having the appointment, and that's when you really are making your offer.
Okay.
But that's the sales process in like super speed.
Okay. Okay. Um, let's see. What else was gonna ask you?
Did the volume thing help? Just seeing the sheer volume that it would take.
I won't take it all too seriously, given
Hmm.
like, you know,
Yeah.
it's
And
not like in other sales things where you're going like, oh, I need this set. Like each one that you call is like, it's not likely, so I can
yeah,
be more lighthearted about it and not.
yeah, exactly. And when people are mean, it's like, no worries. Like, I just have to call so many people, so it doesn't matter. Like anything that happens, it's like, all right, I just gotta keep going.
Right. And
Um,
I also feel like I need the practice because my 9 to 5 job, I don't talk to anybody, so I need the practice just being comfortable asking
yeah,
people. So yeah,
yeah. No, I think you'll learn a lot. So, like I said, let's say if you wanted to get 8 deals, and also usually people don't build traction unless they've been doing consistently for like 90 days, consistent cold calling. And then that's when those stats start to make sense of like, okay, and every time I get 80,000, or I don't know, 8,000 dials to get 8 deals, it's because they're following up with those deals too. But it
right.
takes time to build up your pipeline of leads at the
Yeah.
beginning.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what cold calling is.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
kind of cool though, because you saying that you have 14 hours a week calling, I'm kind of curious. So like, let's say if you dialed, and let's say you actually did that, which I hope you will. Even if you get close, it's still progress. But 500
Yeah.
dials for 14 hours, probably be slower at the beginning because you're getting used to the system. But when you get used to it, that's 7,000 dials for the week. That's probably 7 leads, most
Okay.
likely. Like, so
Yeah.
if you pull 7 leads a week, every week consistently, then like in 10 weeks, you got 70 leads. Now you're close to that 80 lead mark, and there's a good chance that a bunch of those leads, they're like, yeah, I'm not ready to sell yet. And then
Yeah.
over time, 6 months later, like everyone's like, okay, I'm ready to sell. And that's when all the money comes. Like it's a patient game.
So, like, I like wholesaling podcasts and all kinds of stuff. A lot of them talk about direct to seller being expensive.
Mhm.
So, make that many calls. What am I paying for the list a week?
It's the data. Um, you would choose, if you are making that many calls, yeah, you probably need a bunch of leads. But so it's a 3 cents a skip with kind, like I said, and then
Yeah.
PropStream doesn't charge you for like pulling the
Right.
actual data,
Yeah.
except the monthly subscription. So let's say you pulled 20,000 numbers. That's actually kind of a lot at the beginning, but let's say you pulled 20,000 records
Okay.
times 0.03 for 3 cents a skip. That's $600. So maybe you start with 5,000 or
Okay.
10,000, depending on what you're comfortable with. And there's
Okay.
no problem with like calling the same 5,000 people over and over again, because that's what happens anyways. Now,
Okay.
what happens? Let's say you started with a small list, and it's a decent list of 5,000 people, and maybe you have it super targeted to what you want. Times 0.03, so $150 for that list, and
Yeah.
that's all you pay besides the PropStream subscription.
Okay.
Now for the 5,000 people, what Ready Mode will do, it'll just continue calling those people until you get, we call it like a disposition on them. So when you mark them as, okay, they said not interested, they said wrong number, they said do not call me ever again, they said
Okay.
lead, they said yeah, I want to sell. So like there's different buttons that you press,
Okay.
and if they don't pick up, like it'll just put them back in the system and it'll keep calling.
Okay.
And the thing that I look for to that triggers me to add more data to the list is because it's not a guessing game. I look at my calls to connect rate. Calls to connect. So that means how many calls does it take to, on average, to connect to one person? So to talk to one person. And for me, usually it's around like 14 or 15 calls with my data. And that's not even that great. I think when I was talking to the ready mode person, they're like, yeah, 10 or so is really good. I was like, oh, that's not mine, but we're still going to keep calling. So I know that if I'm looking at that data and it's in the dialer, so there are reports that you'll learn through the videos. But if I know that that number, 15 calls to connect, that shoots up to 30 consistently, I'm like, okay, I'm calling the same small group of people who are just not answering. So I need more data so that more people are answering again, because you don't want to waste your time with that.
Right. And so lists don't go bad, right? Is
No,
just
no.
mark people
Yeah.
off. So I was also wondering, like, if I bought a big list and then I don't get through it very quickly, have I wasted money? So
No,
they don't go
because
bad,
right
right?
now I'm using a really old list of mine. Yeah, I
Okay.
relaunched my calling campaign. I was like, whatever, I'm just going to use it. It's still working. And when I started using it, some of these people that were answering, like, no, I sold that a little while ago. And I was like, if I just kept up at my cold calling, I would have got this one. And that
Oh,
happens a lot. Even when you're
uh,
going to call, they're like, I just sold it. And I'm like, oh, sometimes I'm going to ask, well, did you sell it directly or was it on market? And they're like, oh,
right.
this investor came to me like, no, like, it could have been. Yeah. So, yeah, they don't go bad.
Okay. I think those are all of my questions.
Sweet. Yeah. And
Yeah.
the hardest thing is really just it's sticking to it, because it can get tiring. Um, and luckily, if you haven't dialed before on a dialer, it's not it's not bad. I mean, it might be scary at first, but really, like, you're not talking the entire time. Someone picks up the phone, you talk to them, so you don't need your phone connected, and then you just wait. You just wait until they answer. I'm sorry. Another thing I forgot to tell you, for the dialer specifically, you want to buy like at least 30 numbers for your area. 30 phone numbers that you're going to be calling from. So
Okay.
if you were only calling from one number, that
Yeah.
number with that speed of calls, you'd be marked very fast and like a spam risk for AT&T, Verizon, no one would pick up and your
Okay.
calls to connect would be way up. So what Ready Mode can do, you have to select the option, is they'll auto rotate those numbers. So every new dial, it's a different number. And that's why
Okay.
30 is so helpful, so that they have time to rest
Okay.
and just better chance that people will actually pick the phone. And for me, it cost $30 to initiate and $30 monthly to keep 30 numbers.
Okay.
I think their normal price is 50, but I think they just knew that I understood the dialers and they gave me the discount. Maybe you can shoot for that too. Like, say, hey, like, my friend gets 30. um, but yeah,
So is
that's the big thing.
that option is like somewhere on there? They'll ask you, do you want to buy numbers? It's all in the
Yes.
same
Yeah,
site.
and that's why I like it, because it's so simple and it's all included. And I think you have to use their numbers, and they're good numbers. But
Um, do I have to worry about scrubbing? I remember hearing scrubbing at DNC list.
this is where it becomes a choice for your business owner, because I don't know where you're at financially, but for them to do your scrubs, I pay another 100 a month. So on top of the 150 a month, it's another
Okay.
100 a month to scrub, I think, monthly. So whatever data's in their system, it'll continue to scrub out the do not call and the
Okay.
litigators. Just to be safe. I'd rather do it for me. At the beginning, I
Okay.
didn't. I was like, I don't care. Like, I could get a sense of when someone's trying to maybe get something that they'd instantly tell me. This happens too a lot, or not a lot, rare. But they're like, yeah, just send me your company name, text me your number, your email, your name. I was like, no, like, I'm not. like,
You s-
on to the next one. Yeah, even if you think they're a lead, I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of
okay.
scary.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because people wait. They just wait and wait for someone to call them.
Gosh. Yeah. I can imagine. Okay. I think that's a lot for me
Yeah.
to try. That's a lot.
But I think, yeah, you're all
But
set now. That's everything you need to start for sure.
okay.
Does it
I
make you
think
nervous with that many hours of calling and people talking to?
no, I think for me right now, I'm like, how long is it going to take me to go through the video to learn all of this? That's all that makes me feel like,
Yeah.
but that stuff I do in the hours at night that I couldn't, like when I do find I have time, it tends to be late and I don't want to call people at that time. That's not good.
Yeah. Well, you can call
So,
people until 9 p.m.
and,
Like 8
okay,
8 a.m. to 9 p.m. recipient time.
okay,
Yeah. It's funny. I was actually calling this morning at 8:30 or 8 to 9, and this lady answered at like 8:30, and she's like, "This is not appropriate to be cold calling at 8." And she's like, "Just take me off the list." I was like, "Okay." And then I was on live YouTube. I was like, "Well, actually, it's pretty appropriate because it's within the legal." Like 7 o'clock, not appropriate. 8, yes, we're
right,
dialing.
yes, they are business
Yeah.
hours.
um.
Okay, yeah. So no, I mean, hearing those numbers, yeah, I honestly, I'm probably going to try your text the agents
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit because I have been keeping up with the offers that I've made that have
Yeah.
been shot down. Um, and just see because my main thing was I don't know if I'm just slow at comping. I know I just need more practice, but I'm super, careful to get it the numbers just right and then to have it shot down or, "Oh, I already have an offer." So, yeah, if I can just text and just see if they're even
Hmm.
interested before I do the work, that would help
Yeah.
a lot.
And if you do that, just don't expect it to get the deal right away. It's gonna be in the follow up. Like if it's the text method.
Okay.
Usually how that looks like, for me at least, is I'll text the offer and they'll usually be like, you know what? Maybe at that price, but we have like multiple buyers above that. I'm like, hey, cool, it's no worries. I'll be a backup buyer, no problem at all. And then every month, or depending on how close like I was, every month, every week, I would check up with that realtor.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, how are things going with this one? Or maybe I see one pending. I'm like, saw one pending, congrats. But if anything ever happens, they back out, I'm still here. Just want to let you know. And I just did that
Okay.
for like, on average, like 7 months until multiple buyers backed out. And they'd always come back to me, hey, you've been checking up for a while. Like, this offer's still good.
Oh,
And
no.
usually I'm like, well, I got to be a little bit lower now. But because it's been a
Right. Now
while.
that you need-
And
Yeah.
that's how I
Okay.
get the MLS ones.